everyone. Hope you are doing well. If you're new to the channel, welcome. In between all of the playing cards and music and history, etc., we like martial arts here. And I've been gathering these books that relate to my martial arts lineage. Inside them, you will see a lot of this. The Hand by the Waist. And I was training with a guy one time and he was like, yeah, that's a corruption. And I was like, wait, what? And he was like, that's a corruption. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't put your hand by your waist. You should have your hands here, you know, defend yourself or whatever. And I don't know. I almost don't even know where to start with that. So I guess let's just break it down. First off, this is not a phenomenon that is unique to Asian martial arts. You'll see it in Kung Fu and karate, etc. But guess where else you will see it? You will see it in 1800s boxing manuals. Hey, Westerners putting their hands by their waist. What's up with that? Not that it matters, but you'll even see it in like old Grecian urns that are like over 2,000 years old. You'll see people putting their hands by their waist. So it's kind of like all these different cultures that were actually experiencing real violence for some reason putting their hand by their waist. But Alex, that's ancient history. But Alex, that's ancient history. Would it work in the cage? Okay. So I'm about to show you a dozen people getting knocked out in the UFC. Different fighters, different styles, etc. You watch where those fighters have their hand. Wow, isn't that interesting? Right before the punch is thrown and the person's knocked out, they had their hand by their waist. Even Mike Tyson, like, you know, one of the hardest hitting dudes on the planet, you see him bring back his arm when he's getting ready to finish people off. By the way, it could be here or here or here, down here. It's pulled back. It's not up here. Here's why they're doing that. All these different fighters, all these different cultures, here's why they're pulling their arm back. Ready? Put up your hand. Put your other hand across your pec and your shoulder. Now, pull your free arm back to your waist. And you should feel all of your pec and your shoulder stretching back and engaging. So what that means is now you're hitting with these muscles. You're hitting harder than if you're just doing this. This is like, you know, if you go to the gym, you like do a tricep pull. What can you do more weight on? A tricep extension where it's just this like one muscle, or benching where you can do like way more weight. The benching, obviously. So pull back, feel that chest and that shoulder muscle engage. You're hitting with that, so now your punches are hitting harder. That's why all those punches are knockout punches. That's what it's for. It's for to hit harder. When they measured the world record for the hardest hitting punch, it's maybe there's some dude out there who can hit harder, but this is the hardest hitting recorded punch. They brought in Francis Ngannou. Both those punches he uses to set for the world record, he brings them back to his waist. Isn't that interesting? Eddie Hall, when he tries to break that record, the hardest punch, the hardest hitting punch that he has, he brings his hand back to his waist. So there you go. Whenever you do that, you're engaging more muscle, so therefore you're hitting harder. And then people will be like, oh, well, it's a horrible guard. Well, yeah, it's not meant to protect your head. It's not a guard. You're like getting ready to finish someone off because they're like backing up and they're on the ropes. So yeah, if all these elite fighters are doing it now, if all these other fighters were doing it throughout history, it's probably not a corruption. Maybe it just wasn't explained properly, what you were doing. Boss Rutan specifically explains this. Boss Rutan's like won all these fights. He was a bouncer. Let's see what he has to say about it.
When I throw power shots, you see me loading up. And I know the technical guy is going to say, well, boss, you're an open target. Your hands are all the way here. Yeah, but it's a load up for a punch I already did. If that first punch is really hard and he respects your punch, this guy's going to be in defense. Plus, I'm not going to fight him in slow-mo. Ask Mike Tyson, left uppercut, left hook, liver. See how fast he does that. And when you see him hitting it, everything is loaded up. Everything is coming from the back. It only goes that fast because he was that fast. Now another thing, for instance, if I throw a left hook and then a liver shot, you see there's two different load-ups. Left hook would be here, and the liver shot would be here. Well, I'm kind of telling my opponent now what I'm going to do. So the liver shot I'm not going to load up here, and the hook I'm not going to load up here. I'm going to both load them up here. So he doesn't know what I'm going to throw. Now we're talking about effective stuff. Left hook and a liver shot. Both of them, load them up here. But you're wide open, boss. Yes. First of all, you don't know when I'm going to throw it. And second of all, it's going to go with a lot of power and a lot of speed. Hopefully, because I didn't do this for a long time. All right, so you want to load up for the hook. You're standing, you go hip. Load them up, drop them down.
There you go. By the way, he mentions that if you chamber everything from here, you're not going to give anything away. Like you're not cocking for a hook. So from here, you can throw a straight punch, you can throw an overhead punch, you can throw a hammer, you can throw a long distance hook, you can throw an uppercut, regular punch, elbow. So now during this flash, when you see me do this, you don't know what it's going to be because everything's chambered from here. And everything chambered from there is going to hit harder than this. Right? I'm not anti putting your hands up. That's like keyword number 4 in Mantis. In fact, one of the oldest books referencing Mantis, they say when there's someone hitting down at your head, what do? You raise both of your arms, you guard your head, and then you punch them in the face. So there's times to do this, of course, but I'm not against that. I'm against the notion of saying that every culture and every single fighter now who's using this, that this is like some sort of a corruption. It's not good when they're knocking people out with it. Sometimes maybe like 1 out of 10 times that you do that, sometimes you are grabbing someone's arm and pulling back. In karate, that's called hikite, which I can't believe I know that. But anyways, you're pulling the arm back and twisting, just like in Mantis. It's the same thing. And one of those, I think one of like, maybe it was Funakoshi or someone, they like specifically say, yeah, that's the purpose of hikite. You're pulling someone into your punch. But they had tons of other applications where they were just here without grabbing an arm. Same thing in Kung Fu, same thing in karate. You do this because it pulls back your muscle and you're engaging those chest muscles and the shoulder muscles and you're hitting harder. Yeah. I mean, not much else to say, I guess. There's like a really weird bogus theory where they're like, these people are like, oh, if you forcefully bring back your arm, it pivots the other side around to hit harder. That's not how physics works. You don't go at someone and then try and move your arm forcefully the opposite way that you're going, so then it can somehow wrap around and hit the other guy harder. So this isn't for the other arm. It's literally for getting this arm ready, boom, to hit harder. I mean, also too, if you have to like square off and do something, your hands are moving. They're not static. That way someone doesn't punch them or grab them. In the 1800s, when they're like doing the bare knuckle boxing, when they're doing this, one of the reasons, I mean, it hides your hits, but one of the reasons is so people wouldn't punch your hands. Like if you drive your fist into your hand and feel that, how that hurts, they would move their hands so that someone couldn't just. So if you're holding your hand statically like this and someone just starts hitting at them, that's like a minor detail. I almost don't even care what guard you do, as long as you don't say that this was useless or stupid. Because again, all throughout history, in all these, the hardest hitting punches recorded were using hand by the waist. All these modern sport fighters are like knocking people out with this. Like the guard in Mantis is moving forward and hitting people. Like that's your guard. And then if you have to, you do some blocks because someone just won't go down. But so yeah, it just doesn't make any sense. I don't understand. But that's why it's good to find like a real teacher. Go train, find a real teacher, practice. Hopefully their explanation of this isn't just don't do that. Because now, like I said, can you knock someone out from here? Yeah. Will you hit harder if you wrap this back and engage all this muscle? Yes. I was gonna have like a way longer compilation of all those UFC knockouts and then like do a whole compilation of all these boxers who were doing it, but it's just so much. I was just like, no one's gonna sit through all that. I've made my point. And I'm making my point with evidence from history and from modern fighters actually going at it. If your point is like, oh, my sensei Bob said that, that's just how we do it. Whatever. I was editing this and I realized that I forgot to mention. If you're in your dojo or whatever and you're just doing a bunch of touch sparring, like, oh, I got you, tap, tap. If you're doing a bunch of light tappy tap sparring, there's never any reason to bring your hand down here because that's what you do to knock someone out. So all the time you're just going to be guarding here and guarding your head and tap, tap, tap and everything. And there's never going to be any reason or cause for you to come back here because you don't have to actually knock someone out. So if you stay in that world long enough, you're going to be like, oh, if I just keep my hands here, I get hit in the head less. So there's never any reason for me to go down here. When I think there is, obviously. So anyways, yeah, hopefully that explains why you pull back your hand. And I don't know. It's just sort of a weird idea I've been coming across, that it's useless. And I think if you look at the anatomy and the history of people doing that, you'll find it's not useless. It's almost like these people who experience all this violence in all these different cultures around the world. It's almost like they wanted to survive, and they came up with good ideas. So anyways, that's all I got for you today. Hope you learned something, and stay warm. I'll see you next time.
But it doesn't matter. That punch would have knocked him out when he was 20.
Oh yeah, that would have knocked anyone out.
Yeah, I mean,
Any human being.
that punch was insane.
Mark Contour, Roy Nelson, either of those guys.
And the way he threw it, it was like a leg, like from the thigh, and then whipping that arm with the whole body behind it, just full torque. I mean, it had everything. It had all the power.